Hello everyone. In this video, I will explain data templates for data migration tool. The first one of templates is worker master file, which contains worker personal and employment information. First record or first column is the personnel number, which is the personnel number of the worker on Dynamics 365. English name, Arabic name, company code. The company code is the company abbreviation on the Dynamics 365. Calendar is the calendar name assigned to the worker profile in attendance setup. Date of birth, gender, nationality, qualification. Qualification is defined by the HR, which can be bachelor, master's, high school, etc. Religion, joining date. Joining date should be on this format: month, day, year. Also, date of birth should be in this format: month, day, year. Skip the position for now. The visa number, it means if the worker has a visa number, when is the issue date of the visa number, issue place, if he has an entry port, the entry date as well. These are legal information. Sponsor name, Kafala, is the name of the sponsor for this worker. GOSI name, GOSI number, which is the number of social insurance. General Organization of Social Insurance. In-kingdom transfer means if he has in-kingdom transfer or not, so the answer will be yes or no. Iqama profession, it means if the worker has Iqama and he has another profession different from the profession in his career, it can be added here. Worker bank account, bank group, IBAN number, SWIFT code, bank code, and bank name, bank account number. These are bank information related to the worker. Old employee ID, it means if the worker has another employee ID different from his current employee ID, which was in the old system. The marital status, this is the last column. Next, we have employee contract template. In this template, we can add employees' contract information, such as salaries and pay groups. The first column is personnel number, basic salary, contract number, which is the contract number on the system. It can be the same as the personnel number. This refers to the HR policy of how they assign the contract number as a sequence number. The joining date of the worker, which is the contract start date. It can be different from the joining date in the worker profile, which is the contract start date. Employee grade, grade level, contract end date, annual leave, which is the type of the annual leave on the worker profile, such as 30 days or 21 days. Pay group ID, which is the pay group ID that can be assigned when running salaries. For each one of the pay groups, we can run different salary calculation. Employee group, if the worker is assigned to a different group or they are organized as different groups, each one of the workers can be assigned to a group. So I add the name of the group here. Ticket amount, which is the ticket amount that the worker is eligible to take in his contract. Ticket number, which is the number of tickets the worker is eligible to take. Transportation by company, if the company is allowed, if the company give the worker a transportation, we can add here yes. If the company doesn't provide any transportation to the worker, then write no. The currency code is which is the currency code that assigned to the worker, how he take his salary. Housing by company, does the company provide a housing to the worker or not? Fixed GOSI amount per day. If the worker is assigned a fixed amount of GOSI, social insurance, then it can be added here. If the worker doesn't take a fixed amount and he takes it based on his basic salary and housing, then it will be calculated automatically by the system and no need to add anything here. Calculation overtime. Does the worker have any overtime? If the worker is not allowed to take any overtime, then add no. From airport and destination airport, these are optional values to add the destinations for the worker when he travels. It will be added in his contract. The payment method is the payment method of the salary. End of service calculation is the end of service calculation method. Contract period is the contract period if it can be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, up to 7 years, and it can be unlimited. Contract kind is can be normal or any other values. I will add the other values here in the template. Contract status is such as contract renewal and contract end without renew. Insurance category is the insurance category for the worker such as A, B, C or VIP. Next we have allowances template. The first column is the worker ID, which is the personnel number. Second column is the worker contract number, which is the contract number in his contract. Allowance name is the allowance name in the system. You either specify amount or percentage. Some allowances are assigned as amounts and some are assigned as percentage. So if it's amount, fill in the amount and leave the percent empty. If it's a percentage, fill the percentage and leave the amount empty. Include in GOSI means if this allowance is to be included in GOSI or no. Usually in Saudi labor law, for example, the housing allowance is the only allowance that is included in GOSI. Currency for assigning allowance and amount per day. Amount per day means the allowance will be calculated for the worker as if he takes based on his working days. So if he worked 23 days, for example, the allowance will be calculated for 23 days. If it's not amount per day, it means the allowance will be assigned to the worker as a monthly payment for the whole month, regardless of the working days. Next, we have pay allocation. First column is personnel number. Next is the legal entity, abbreviation or code. Next is the percentage of pay allocation for the following dimensions. So we take 25% for this worker. He will be assigned as 25% on customer dimension on this dimension, business unit dimension on this dimension, and department dimension on this department dimension. So we dynamically add the name of dimensions on columns, and we add the values of these dimensions and the percentage assigned for the worker. The pay allocation is defined to add how the worker salary is organized or divided when posting salaries to finance. It can be added and divided as percentages to these dimensions or to his dimensions. Next, we have employee addresses. First column is the employee personnel number, country code, address description, city, and street. This can be, for example, street 1 and street 2, for example, etc. The country codes and cities are added in the system. So you select based on the country codes that are added in the system. Next is the documents template. Documents contains documents such as passport, national ID, إقامة, and so on. The first column is personnel number. Second column is the ID number, which is the إقامة number or national ID number or passport number. The third column is to assign the type of the document. One is for passport, إقامة, national ID, visa. Each one has a specific number. For example, 3 means national ID, 2 means إقامة. Issue place is the issue place. It's optional. Issue date and expiration date in Georgian. And also we have optional information such as issue date and expiration date in Hijri. These are all optional information. Next is the employee contact information. First column employee ID, second column email, mobile number, phone, and extension. Next we have the annual leave balance. The annual leave opening balance sheet defines the opening balance for annual leave for workers. First column is employee ID, which is the employee personnel number, leave days balance, opening balance, and opening balance date. So this worker starting from this date, his balance will start with 7 days. The same is for ticket balance. We assign the ticket balance for worker and the ticket opening balance. So this worker starting from this date, he will take 4.05 tickets. Next is the organization structure template. The first column is worker number. Second is the position code, the position description, job code and job description, job title, immediate manager, which is the position code of the immediate manager. And next we have department, sub-department, branch, section, sector, and business unit. Next we have the financial dimensions. For each one of the employee IDs, assign the name of the financial dimension. and the value of the financial dimension. For example, this worker has business unit on HR, cost center on this cost center unit, a cost center dimension, and department on this department dimension. Next, we have the dependent templates. After employee number, specify the member name in the family, member name in Arabic, relationship, birth date, gender, nationality name, and national ID. Or the ID number, it can be passport or إقامة. Next we have the medical insurance. The first column is the employee number, the policy number, level ID, such as A, A+, B, C, and VIP, the contract number for the insurance, the BUقا ID, medical card number, membership number, start and end date of the medical insurance. BUقا ID is something to be added as optional. Medical card number is the number on the medical card. And the membership number is the membership of the medical insurance. Next we have the medical insurance for dependents. We specify the dependent medical insurance for dependents. It is the same as the medical insurance except that we add the dependent detail. Which is the English name. In the posting profile, add the type of each one of the financial elements to add the financial account number to be added to be used when posting salaries to finance. For example, the basic salary it can be posting to this number, which is the financial account number, and so on for all the other accounts. Some of the elements can be specified, such as allowances. We can specify the specific type of allowances. Each one of these types has a different account, and we can make them all on the same account. It depends on the company. And so on for all other elements, such as loans, overtime, tickets, and business trip. Next, we have the attendance setup. In the attendance setup, first we have the employee ID, calendar name, which is the name of the calendar assigned to the worker attendance profile. The shift name is the shift assigned to the worker, which is the shift name that he's assigned in the attendance database or attendance setup. Specify here if the worker has flexible timing or not, the number of minutes on the flexible timing if he has flexible timing, number of working hours for his shift, does he allow to be taken to take overtime, to calculate overtime or not. On the overtime requests and overtime transactions, noting that calculate overtime means to allow the overtime for the worker on only portal or self-services requests and overtime transactions, not overtime attendance. We can add a specific overtime limitation. It can be per month or per year or per week. So we add, if we specify it for per month, we add here per month, and we specify the number of hours on overtime limitation. If it's per week, then we add here per week, and we specify the number of overtime hours on overtime limitations. Here we add the shift details to add that for each one of the shifts, when will be the time to attend. And if one of the days is different from the other days, just specify here inside the shift. For example, on this shift, Thursday starting from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. The last one is the workflow. Is the workflow on the company. For each one of the self-services requests, there are some workflow assigned in the company. In this example, I will show you starting from the leave request. Leave request goes to the first step of approval to the line manager, which is based on the hierarchy. It's different, it's not a specific user, it's different from one user to another, worker to another based on his immediate manager. So each one of the worker, his leave request will go to his immediate manager. Next, it goes to the IT manager, which is a specific number. We add here the worker ID or name that the user will be assigned the request to him. Next, it's not going to go to the accountant manager because here it's cross sign, not check sign. Next, it will go to the finance manager, which is a specific user. Next, it will go to the HR manager, which is a specific user. And next, it will go to the HR manager. Here we can add another step. We can add as many steps. You can add as many steps as you want based on your policy of approvals. It can be some other managers or some other persons or workers that you want to add. The same thing for all other requests. Specify the steps, then add if each one of the requests will go through these steps or not. That's all for the data templates. Thank you for listening.